Hey guys, Seth here. I'm still just wandering around Rome, and I took a wrong turn somewhere. Fortunately, this beautiful blonde woman's been following me around, but I'm pretty sure she's stalking me. But anyway, I was just looking for a bathroom, and I stumbled into this building, and it's kind of neat, I guess, if you really just take a look around. I'm not really sure what this used to be. It looks like some version of Arrowhead. I'm not entirely sure, but I can tell you one thing. Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes would be the best to ever do it on that field, too.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Yes, indeed. It's a mandatory edition of Only Weird Games here on KC Sports Network. An unexcused absence for Seth Kaiser, as you may have just seen, or if you only heard, I'll tell you, that appeared to me to be the, it's the big Colosseum in Rome. I can't remember what it's called now either. The Roman Colosseum, that's what it was. That's where Seth was, at least when he sent that video. He's somewhere around Italy now. I saw a comment go by earlier and said, I wonder if prosciutto with ranch is a thing in Italy now. Thank you, a username that Seth wouldn't have read if he was here. Nate, how are you doing on this mandatory Tuesday?
Doing fantastic. Ready to officially turn the page. I know it's still kind of unusual for people, but even with Seth not here, obviously, excused, for family reasons. He's got a thing. He's got a vacation. That's how Andy Reid would describe it as. No, it's been excused. He's got a thing. What's that? Yeah, he's somewhere overseas. He's got a family thing. But everybody's working. Everybody's getting good reps. I'm really proud of the fellas. Yes, Miss Brisco, Seth Kaiser, per sources, is still in the region of Italy. Cannot confirm if and when he will return. That's still very, very uncertain. Shout out to Adam Zook, who says Rome, the head of Tombstone Pizza.
It's where it all began. I've seen him tweet some pizzas that he's eating. I assume that when he orders a pizza, he asks them to throw it in the freezer for a little while first so he can have the full experience that he's accustomed to.
Right.
No, it seems like he's having... Duncan Idaho just said, what does Italy have that Minnesota doesn't? Oh, wait. It's like it's been a good trip for Seth.
Yeah.
The members of the Kaiser clan. I have called the police on that woman that he said was stalking her, though. I actually called the FBI since it's an international thing. I guess they're probably on it. I'm not completely sure.
My read on it is that he should keep moving around so that she keeps following him and really sees where this goes. But all credit to him. Who's had a better offseason tour? Seth Kaiser or Travis Kelce? Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, it's a toss-up because a woman is following him while he's following the woman. If you can stay with me,
that's an interesting distinction. Mm-hmm. I think I would argue that given some more of the facts, I think we would find that Seth is also doing more woman following than being followed, just by the actual structure of how I assume that goes. The comment from Latrell that says, I recognize that lady from the gym.
Interesting.
This is the other thing you have to think about. Statistically speaking, this might be the closest that Jazz has ever been to Hugh Jackman. Just by default of being in Europe now. I don't know where Hugh keeps his residence, but I think that's a threat that Seth has to be aware of. I also think that Seth is much closer to having the wheels fall off than Travis Kelce is, so you can take that for what you will as well, I guess.
There's a reason why he's not here, Josh. Seth, obviously, there's a reason. He needs to really, really get away. Hope he's a semblance of who he was when next season begins. And, if we have to carry the workload, that's why we're paid professionals, Josh, because legends can't do it forever.
I do I do fear that we're not going to have Seth come back and say he's in the greatest shape of his
His
life.
life?
I
Oh.
don't think. I mean, and Kelce didn't give us that today either, just to be clear. But I don't know. I'm guessing he will do the thing that every American, myself included, has done apparently when going to Europe, which is just eat food and walk around for 2 weeks and then
Sure.
get home and be like, I lost weight. What's in the food? It's like, it's just you walked. You use your feet and legs over there. Then you came back here and you just drove everywhere again and sat mostly. That was my experience. But so maybe Seth will come back in the greatest shape of his life. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I can't wait to get a little walking in myself and see the pounds just shed my body. Instead of standing in the sun watching other human beings much more talented than I am exert themselves for a ball that is not round. So yeah, I look forward to that time, hopefully in the next few weeks.
But that standing time you allude to there is a writer's way of describing mandatory minicamp.
Yep.
Day 1, June 11th, we are here, as are almost all of the rostered Kansas City Chiefs. There are a few interesting parts about it today, Nate, but you were out there for practice, for the pressers after. We heard from Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco, and Drew Tranquil.
Mhm.
They all spoke to the media, had a few things that are interesting here or there. But I felt it was only right to start with the guys who were not out there. Obviously, this is not a Chris Jones-esque situation of, all of the mess of a contract negotiation. But what I have here per my source, which is, let me see here, Nate Taylor of The Athletic. Joe Toney not participating, not present either, to my understanding.
Correct.
Xavier Worthy present but not participating. You noted that he spent most of the practice standing next to Matt Nagy, which I want to know more about momentarily. And then on the defensive side, you noted that Charles Omenihu and Derek Nottie were both there but not practicing due to injuries they were carrying over from last season, obviously. And BJ Thompson was not there, but he was discharged from the hospital on Monday night. He was not even conscious the last episode of this show that we did on Thursday. But we found as time rolled out there that he became conscious, good shape. We heard from Rick Burkholder. He shouted out a whole bunch of the medical personnel that helped make a very scary situation ultimately like a relatively normal day in medicine, at least once they got to the hospital. You know what I mean? But he spent the night on the ventilator, all of that. But BJ Thompson discharged Monday night. Obviously was not there this morning. And Pete Sweeney said Harrison Butker not present, which I don't know if that came up anywhere else. And then a few other limited defensive guys. Are Aaron Rodgers and Harrison Butker, do they have similar schedules? I don't know. Did the Chiefs ever make any sort of judgment on that, or is he just taking a little mandatory time off?
Yeah, my apologies, Harrison. I forgot to include you in the tweets earlier today. That is my apology. Yes, I did not see Harrison Butker. We did see one extra point attempt from Justin Reed.
Fine by me.
It went through the uprights. They just moved on. It is June 11th, and Justin Reed closing in on the kicker competition with Harrison Butker. Somebody quote me on the internet saying that.
I don't need to be involved in any part of that, but that's the availability rundown.
Right.
I want to talk about Xavier Worthy first, because he's had this nagging hamstring thing throughout all of the organized team activities at this point, right?
Pretty much since opening day of rookie minicamp. Yeah. And he did perform through that. And then they said, hey, let's chill.
In fact, why don't you go ahead and set the scene on how much and how little you've seen from Xavier Worthy to this point, what you saw out there today, and then I'll run it through my take filter. I have what I think is a very mild, but at least a very mild take that I feel like we should all at least discuss while we're here today on June 11th, given the fact that mercifully there's not a whole lot of bigger news to talk about around this team right now. Fingers crossed, knock on wood.
Right. So here's the update, guys. It doesn't appear, it would be surprising if Xavier Worthy participated in tomorrow's practice. As you're listening to this either today, Tuesday, or tomorrow, he did not practice today/Tuesday. He has not practiced in any real capacity since rookie minicamp that reporters have been able to see. Now, I believe Andy Reid told us on the first week of OTAs, which was obviously last month, that Xavier Worthy did participate on the first day, but that he tweaked his hamstring, and so they, from a cautionary reasons, held him out with the hope that he would maybe come back towards the end of OTAs, which would have been last week, or this week, obviously mandatory minicamp. They're not going to push it. Now, it's unfortunate because it obviously lessens his ability to continue to build reps and timing and connection with Patrick Mahomes and understand the space and awareness within the offense. As you've mentioned before, and I put on Twitter, he has been a very diligent student, standing next to Matt Nagy, who is sort of I don't want to get the walkie-talkies out, but basically he walkie-talkied it. Also, my son's not here to ask me to answer things while trying to do a professional podcast. But he hears the play calls from Matt Nagy, who's obviously walkie-talking it into Patrick Mahomes's helmet. And then, hey, how would you run the route? Where should you be? What's the sight adjustment you see based on the alignment, the coverage, and where we are from a formation standpoint. So yeah, Xavier Worthy's done as best he can to stay involved mentally, as Steve Spagnuolo would call mental reps, alongside the coaching staff. He does spend a few minutes talking to Patrick when Patrick is done with his sort of series of repetitions during practice, and then he goes right back to Matt Nagy so he can see sort of the whole field behind the offense. The way I would sort of paint the picture for people is like when Patrick Mahomes is dropping back to pass in a practice, Andy Reid is probably less than 10 yards away from him so that he can see the entirety of the field from the quarterback's perspective. And then Matt Nagy is probably like on closer to like the numbers of the field to see the offense from that perspective. And of course, as of today and most recently, Xavier Worthy's been right alongside him. I'm not comparing the two players, but I do think it's interesting that the first round picks.
Yes, this is what I want to. Yes, Coach Nate
for the Chiefs. By the way, we did not talk about this pre-recording.
Did not talk about this,
but I do find it interesting. Similar to last year with Felix, and now this year with Xavier, neither one of those guys went through really any portion of the off-season program that you would want for your top draft pick in terms of easing the nerves, again, the timing, the rhythm, the consistency, the chemistry before things really go into sort of turbo, which is training camp. So, our first legitimate look for Xavier Worthy appears to be training camp in St. Joseph in the middle of July, maybe late July. And he will probably be at a disadvantage because of what I believe and from my understanding, is a strained left hamstring. And it's precautionary, but at the same time, it would be helpful if we saw reps. It would be helpful for the coaching staff if we saw reps on the field of your projected starting five, which is, alongside Patrick Mahomes, of course, Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, and then your top three receivers, which you may not even see until maybe after Halloween, of Hollywood Brown, Rashid Rice, and your top pick in the draft, Xavier Worthy.
I went to find it just to know where the timestamp was on the receipts here. I sent a Slack message to our friend Jordan Foote at 11:28 a.m. and I said, "Is Worthy going to end up basically practicing as much as FAU last year?" And that is exactly where my head is at, and it's exactly why I think this matters some. Nothing about Worthy having a nagging hamstring thing throughout this portion of the offseason would make me want him selected one spot later in the draft. I would not swap him out with any other receiving prospect. I would not it does not change anything about my long-term view. we talked about Felix missing a lot of that time for quite a while, which I think was hand in hand with the fact that he was a kind of a redshirt player. Like, we knew most likely that it was going to be a slower ramping up period for him, but it felt like that was decided basically by training camp, because it was a combination of expectation and missing some offseason stuff, right?
I will say everything about Felix season was weird compared to most rookie seasons.
Yeah.
To your point, and as we said before, he didn't really practice because of a thumb injury, because of a foot injury, this being Felix. And also, they had to accelerate his progress at an unhealthy manner because Chris Jones wasn't around.
True.
And then they scaled him back within like week 3 to being a normal rookie again. And oh, by the way, because Chris is back, because at the time, Mike Dana was really establishing himself as a starting defensive end. You already have George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu was coming back from suspension. Yeah, we don't really need you. The key difference this time around is that the Chiefs will need Xavier Worthy.
Exactly.
And he will be put through I would say an even harder accelerator program than Felix was, because being a receiver in an Andy Reid offense takes as many reps as you could possibly get, and the tempo is going to be faster. And Rashid Rice really struggled for like the first week of training camp, including throwing up the first professional practice he had in St. Joseph. And then obviously, if he can withstand it, he's going to be relied upon just as much as Rashid Rice was on opening night last year. This year, because we don't expect Rashid Rice. Does that all make sense?
It does to me, because we're in the exact same headspace there, insofar as Xavier Worthy is starting as a more pro-ready player than FAU, drafted with the expectation that he would see the field sooner and more readily than Felix would.
Correct.
Of that.
Yep.
But what I think is inarguable here now, you can argue by how much. What I think is inarguable is that this means now that Xavier Worthy getting to a spot where he could be theoretically your number 2 wide receiver in week 1, that path is harder now than it was if he would have been out there for every rep of these offseason activities. You mentioned the import of wide receiver reps for new receivers in Andy Reid's offense. That stuff matters. Like, I think that these reps matter to Worthy more than last year's would have mattered to Felix.
Yes.
At least through that lens and that timeline of what the Chiefs had envisioned,
Correct.
even knowing they'd do without Omenihu for a while there now.
Correct.
So again, this doesn't do anything for me negatively in the long haul of Worthy's career. But when we were talking last episode, 2 episodes ago, most of this offseason, we've been talking about, Justin Watson might be the number 2 receiver in week 1 this year. Like, you're going to have new addition Hollywood Brown, number 2 receiver Justin Watson, and we're getting pretty close to number 2 being Justin Watson, number 3 being McCole Hardman. Like, right. Again, week 1, I'm talking about week 1, who are the Chiefs realistically going to trust with one of the keys to their offense, right? If Xavier Worthy is still, and this is compounding, there's a lot of ifs, but if he misses a little bit of camp with a hammy again, it's like, getting him ready for week 1, all of that. Every one of those missed reps makes the next one more important. Those missed reps makes the next one even more rare and even more important. And so I think this was at least worth shining a flashlight on as we sit here on June 11th saying, hey, if by the end of training camp, if Sky Moore gets some reps over Xavier Worthy, because Moore's been in the offense for going into year 3, and Xavier Worthy's had 8 healthy practices, this is when it would have started. I think it's still more likely that Worthy is a real part of the offense pretty early on. Yeah. But it's not how you would draw up this on-ramp for your first-round wide receiver draft pick.
Yes. And I know we have a comment here, or excuse me, a question from Duncan, Idaho, who said, did Worthy have hamstring issues in college? The answer is no. I want to remind people of this. Xavier Worthy never missed a college football game in his 3 years. Despite concerns about his size, he was one of the most durable players to be as productive as he was during his time in college at Texas. So again, this is something to, as Josh says, sort of monitor. Obviously, we'll keep you informed. But if you're not practicing him today, there's really no reason to push him to practice tomorrow, in my opinion. So it just sets up everything to have training camp be an even bigger importance to his overall development and sort of speed him up along with the rest of the offense. Yes, I understand that some people in the comments are saying, well, isn't Xavier Worthy a better player than Felix was when he entered the
Obviously.
league?
I think we said that as much.
Yeah.
You waited for us to finish our sentence.
We alluded to it, but yeah, but I also understand too that you're going to be asking, you're supposed to ask more of Xavier Worthy, and the only way you can really do that is if you're in sync with Patrick Mahomes, most importantly. So the preseason will matter a ton. Rashid Rice was very up and down during the preseason, if you remember last year. So even if Xavier Worthy is better in the preseason, then this may all be kind of forgotten. But as of right now, it's not the way it's not the most optimal way to sort of onboard a rookie when you're doing a very similar thing to Kingsley Suamataia, who is trying to get as many reps as the projected left tackle, even if he is slightly splitting some of those reps with Wanya Morris. It's clear to me, at least this week, with the full team available, with all the defensive ends available, except for, obviously Charles Omenihu and BJ Thompson, they want to see how Kingsley competes against guys like, Chris Jones and George Karlaftis and Mike Dana. Yeah. So obviously I have notes on that particular progress report today in The Athletic that's going to come out later. But, we'll see.
Well, we'll crack that notebook open here in a second. Let's talk about the Travis Kelce thing, and then we'll see what notes are slipping out of your notebook and what's gonna make it over on The Athletic. Let's do that because as we've alluded to again, if Travis Kelce announced his retirement in his press conference today, we would have led with that.
Correct.
He didn't. He did acknowledge at one point that he's closer to the end of his career than the beginning. The alternative to that would be unthinkable. And reiterated something he said before, which is that he's going to do it until the wheels fall off. He talked about some of the off the field.
Every time he says that, I'm like, no one wants to see the wheels fall off, man.
I know.
Like, literally no one, okay? No one wants to see the wheels literally fall off. I've seen wheels fall off.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty.
It's not pretty. It's like 1 degree removed of like, I'll quit when they stretcher me off and have to wire my jaw shut. And we're like, hey man, you've given us a lot of great football. If you want to try to time it to where you quit 1 year before all of your bones break simultaneously on an impact, we would all be okay with that. But it's his words, not ours, and and not our career advice either. But he turns 35 in October. I don't know if you've noticed this, Nate. His girlfriend is very famous.
Very.
And he talked about things that, frankly, I feel like we've heard from him for quite a while about how much he loves coming into work every day, playing until the wheels fall off, and all of those things. He signed the 2-year deal a little bit ago that confused everyone for about 2 hours in national media, and it's ultimately just 2 more years that he's planning on playing football, I think.
Yes.
What did you take away from the Travis Kelce presser today?
He still has time, but he hasn't done the Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter thing. And again, that's more towards training camp, I would say, than like mandatory minicamp. But if you remember with those very famous New York Yankees, they told you ahead of time, like, hey, at spring training, this is it, guys. This is going to be the last season. Give me all the rocking chairs. Give me all the glittery bats. Give me all the glittery gold glove nonsense. Please put together your commemorative video clips because this is gonna be my last year. So he still has time to do that. But nothing's really changed from my understanding. He understands that he's ready to commit 2 years and sort of maybe reassess after that. But these last 2 years could be the last of his, like, I won't say peak, but like how you maintain him is now the story. And I did find it interesting that when I asked him a question, he started to acknowledge that, like, maybe I won't play 80% of the snaps next season. And that's a world that, Chiefs fans need to get ready and get accustomed to. Not just because you signed Hollywood Brown, not just because Xavier Worthy is going to need snaps, not just because maybe the receivers won't lead the league in drops. Maybe, but they drafted, Jared Wiley. They have Noah Gray. They have Irv Smith if they want 4 tight ends. Maybe Garrett Cole if he kind of sneaks through and has a good training camp in preseason. So this is all set up to not put as much of a workload on Travis Kelce. And what'll be fascinating about this year is that he is acknowledging, I don't have to take every rep in practice. And in fact, they've enacted this. Even today, which I would describe as the first day of the 2024 season. Nothing about rookie mini camp and voluntary practices really matters. None of it matters. Today matters. This is the first real practice, and I know there were a portion of season ticket holders that got to watch today's practice at the training facility, but today is the official start of the 2024 season. Because we're not fooling around anymore. All right. The reps you get are an indication of the reps you're going to get in training camp. And what you do from there kind of is what matters. And obviously the coaches have to start prioritizing things. Well, they have prioritized today and earlier this offseason to give Travis Kelce less because he's 35, getting ready to go on 34, getting ready to go on 35. And so they understand now that, hey, can we get him fully healthy and ready to go for week 1? But how do you manage him over the course of the regular season when it's 17 games and you hope it's at least a 20-game season, if not a 21-game season like last year, which, again, crazy. So, hey, if he has less reps at training camp, maybe he won't punch people because he won't be hot and agitated. Okay. So
he's like a kid out there, you said. He still loves it out there in St. Joe punching UDFAs.
Yeah. Cole Christensen, don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
I love that I could not for the life of me tell you if it was Cole Christensen or Jack Cochran, and I think
it was both. It was both. It was both last year.
My goodness.
Problem is I don't think Jack Cochran still with us?
I think they're both back.
Jack Cochran is with us. He was released and then he came back. That's right. Too much, roster mumbo jumbo. Mechanisms and
anything
waivers.
else you want to say about Cole Christensen and Jack Cochran?
Getting a lot of reps right now because Leo Chenal chilling.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting is an aptitude word. So interesting. It's like, hey, who's manipulating who here? Cole Christensen and Jack Cochran or Carson Wentz? Who's manipulating who in this exchange of reps?
And this is when Nate says the practices do start
mattering. Yes, today's practice matters, kid. So, Leo Chenal was present, did have a helmet on, didn't move his feet that much. But yeah, for everything that's gone on with Travis Kelce, it's clear that it's okay if he doesn't have another 1,000-yard season because he would not be required to have a 1,000-yard season to carry your offense as it goes through the absolute quicksand of another drop and another drop and another receiver underperforming. So,
everybody's had some version of that experience, right? Of it's either a bad group project in school or you just your coworkers just are not giving you the level back of dedication that they need. Listen, if I let Jeremy finish this project, the formatting he's not gonna convert it to a PDF. I can it's 2:30 in the morning, but if I just have Jeremy send me the Word document, I can convert it myself and we'll get all the style points for this project. That was Travis Kelce last year. He was hungover and old and tired and waiting for Kadarius Toney to send him that PDF. The Word document. Kadarius Toney was there today. Again, like,
Yes.
I think
Yes,
this is not a setup for anything.
Do you want
I
to
think the only unexcused Chiefs absence today, as far as we know, was Harrison Butker. BJ Thompson was not there. I'm guessing the Chiefs understood. And Joe Tooney was not there.
Would you
presumably doing injury stuff?
Would you like to know who threw the ball most to Kadarius Toney today?
Yeah, I would, Nate. After the break.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Tell us that right after I tell our listeners about PXG. I've been telling you this throughout the last several shows. I went to the PXG location, did a driver fitting. I got to go scoop it up now and then begin to develop my golf game. I was entering that as below an amateur. If you are a golfer on any level with any seriousness, as I know many of you listening now are, you've probably heard PXG saying nobody makes golf clubs like they do. And guys, I went through the process. Now I have enough information to say they're right. I went in, did the fitting, went through the entire process, swung the PXG Black Ops driver, which is a total game changer in ways that now I understand. You don't have to sacrifice distance for forgiveness. My golf game is all forgiveness right now, and we're working on the distance, but I'm in a good place to do this now. And really, again, if you are looking for the upgrade to your club that's going to improve your game and give you the information to tweak your game, you can get all that at PXG. That was the thing that I had no idea. I'd never swung in a simulator to have all of these stats come through. Now I understood what was going on with my swing, and I can work on that now. You can do it with the best in the game with PXG. PXG made me a believer, and they'll do the same for every golfer in Kansas City. All you got to do is visit pxg.com/onlyweirdgames to schedule your fitting at PXG Kansas City. That's 7517 West 119th Street in Overland Park. You can get fitted for any club, and you'll get a dozen golf balls free. That's pxg.com/onlyweirdgames to schedule your fitting. pxg.com/onlyweirdgames. Limit 1 dozen golf balls per person. Promotion ends June 30th. Other terms and conditions may apply. See store for details. Nate, with that Ryan Seacrest level after the break, little teaser here, the cliffhanger we've all been on. What'd you see from Kadarius Toney out there today, and who was throwing him footballs?
Are we ready, ladies and gentlemen?
I cannot wait.
On the first official, significant, meaningful, important practice of the 2024 season, Kadarius Toney caught passes from everyone not named Patrick Mahomes. It was a twist, kids. An absolute twist. Now, did he run a couple routes for Patrick Mahomes? Of course. We're rotating everybody in, baby. But he didn't catch a pass from Patrick Mahomes today. He caught passes from anybody else. I mean, come on, Josh. Now,
sorry.
No, excuse me. I'm only doing this for you guys because I know y'all care. Here's the notebook. Here we go. Let's flip it open.
Notebook time. Let's do this first, real quick. Journalism 101. You got the vertical flipping notebook, right? You got the that's a journalist right there. Big J.
Mm-hmm.
Love those.
Yeah. How you what's and
I do like the double wide ones sometimes. I guess this.
Oh, that's like a Adam Teicher kind of Brooke Pryor special right there.
I love having scribble room.
Yeah. Shout out to my good friend Jordan Rodriguez. I think she uses some of those from time to time. I like it because it fits in one pocket and I look like a detective. Now tell me,
it's hugely important.
When did you hear the bang last night? It was the window at 10:30. Interesting. And you said his name is Marlowe, but you don't want me to write your name down. You said people have been missing? Huh? Oh. Now that's a traditional one. Those
This
are the
one right
ones.
here says news on it and everything. Professional reporters. This is for when I ran a gosh darn school newspaper right here.
Yeah, that's the ones they give you in college and say, if you have those, the police have to talk to you. And then you find out the police do not have to talk to you.
They sure don't.
They do not. Now,
hey, I have here from January 13th, 2021, Andy Reid says Clyde Edwards-Helaire is working back, rehab, taking it day by day. Andy Reid said taking it day by day regarding Clyde Edwards-Helaire in January 13th, 2021.
So you mean to tell me he said something about Marlowe and y'all ain't seen him since? Huh? Do they use burners or beepers? They don't do that? Man, the game really changing out here. Oh, so that's in my notebook. I do have a Kadarius Toney drop.
Was that the one from Mahomes or was that from somebody else?
It was from somebody else.
Here, Travis Kelce said something about Kareem Hunt here. I don't know.
Yeah, it's it was one drop today. It's just one. But I do have on my notebook that Kadarius Toney did drop a ball today. And he was open because he's always open.
He's always open.
He's always
covered. He's just either not on the field or not catching it.
There was one rep today where it's like, yeah, that's right. He's always open. He's always open.
It's always there. Yeah,
it's really cool.
Unreal.
Really cool. Can't wait to see it in St. Joseph, Missouri. Because guess what, kids? Haven't seen it in 2 years. So obviously one of the years he wasn't on the team, but you get my point. He wasn't practicing at that team's training camp either.
Oh yeah, I don't think you're. Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's go through the notebook. What questions do you have for me, Josh? Obviously, if you're, God bless you if you're watching this nonsense.
Yeah,
ask questions away from the first, again, significant, paramount, important practice of 2024.
And there are season ticket members around for some of this, so I feel like we don't have to get Nate to just speak in Morse code or flag code or off screen or whatever.
Yeah, there were some people that were clearly being zapped upon exiting the Chiefs practice facility. Like, you will give me your phone or
oh, that's so funny. What's the left tackle latest? Is Kingsley getting the first crack? Were you seeing enough to see anything developmentally from him and Wanya?
Yeah. George Karlaftis kind of took him to school on a rep today. And I think that was out of frustration from George Karlaftis' standpoint, which I think is a really good sign that in the first team period, George Karlaftis was like, I'm gonna work this rookie. Oh, rookie kind of good. Oh, okay.
I'll take that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's fine. Watch this. And then Patrick Mahomes didn't throw the ball on that rep, kids. No, he didn't. So Kingsley still looks the part. I think he did pretty well. Again, there's no running. Yeah. This is just passing. This is just pass sets. And, it's obviously not in pads. You can't go like full contact, but this is more about hand placement, pass sets, timing, spacing with your other offensive linemen, the timing with the quarterback when he escapes, when he moves up in the pocket. Are you giving him a strong pocket to work within? If it's a rollout, if it's a screen, how is your mobility? Oh my God, he's so good in the open field. So, I think the race, technically, as we reported after the draft, the race technically was Wanya Morris has the inside track, as Kingsley Suamataia has never taken a professional practice of any kind. The race appears to be even, with Kingsley getting the majority of the reps with the projected starters out of a necessity to help assess him, get him ready to go for training camp. Of course, the practices that are in pads in training camp are the next logical checkpoint in this competition. But Wanya Morris is Wanya Morris. Cool. And it's clear that Kingsley has talent and he's still learning because he's a rookie, and George Karlaftis appears to be, pretty good at his job too.
I'll take that from both sides there. One player we mentioned not being there, you were talking about this recently with Joe Toney. What's happening at left guard without Toney there, and is there anything else we ought to know on that isn't what you already? Again, you were very heavily alluding to.
Yes,
you don't know how healthy Joe Toney is.
Yeah.
Now we're hearing he's actually he's missed a mandatory practice, and again, there's some time before training camp, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have felt a smidge better if he would have been present. I don't know where that says about his progress, or if I should feel that way. But left guard, with and without Joe Toney right now, one of the rookies getting worked in there, or missing somebody obvious?
As I'm looking through the notes,
is that still a oh god?
Now look,
is that a Caliendo incumbent spot there?
Yes.
Okay.
The veteran has a stranglehold on left guard in the absence of Joe Toney. Now look, this is where things get interesting if Joe Toney needs more time, which we don't know, but we'll see. We're getting Wanya Morris reps at left guard.
Hard do you say?
Ooh. Already,
they were in denial about Darian Kinnard for longer than that. That's crazy.
Well, maybe Darian Kinnard was in.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
No,
you're right.
God bless Andy Heck. Can you imagine how those conversations were with Darian Kinnard? Hey, son.
Hi, I'm Andy Heck.
I'm really good at this. And B, I played in the league forever. And by the way, my sons are gonna play in the league. So,
and I watched you in college. And so what I think is
and look, I gave you a chance. I'm one of the good ones, okay? I didn't go to your pre-draft visit and say, F you, you're a guard, okay? I said, let's see it. You know what? Let's just see it. Andy, hold on. Now, son, it's year 2. Have you been looking at the playbook at guard? You don't want to do it?
You don't want to do
You just don't want to do it. Son, you understand this is a championship team, right? Do you what happens if something happened with Joe Toney or Trey Smith? Yeah. I know Nick Allegretti's right there, but what happens if something happened to him? What are you doing?
I don't think that
I shouldn't have said any of this, by the way, but look, it's the reality of what happened.
I don't think that any of this show is ever going to. I don't know if we're gonna ever try like a subscriber only kind of little. Maybe we do like a little meet and greet kind of Discord chat thing. I don't know, or this is just a future bonus episode. But the Darian Kinnard episode, or maybe just the what could have been episode.
Yeah, the what could have been.
Just the Darian Kinnard segment in that episode. I'm not
excited for. Again, I'm not saying Darian Kinnard doesn't have talent. Clearly, he does. He's not a tackle. He is a guard in this league.
And none of that was an exact quote. What Nate just said, and also
obviously,
everybody in draft analysis and draft NFL teams, all knew that he was a guard.
Yep, and sometimes
they also knew a couple other things that were like interesting to note. Maybe
it also sometimes it takes a player being released or being put on having their second team sort of fortify their understanding of like where they are in the league. And look, we'll see what happens with Darian Kinnard. Why did I tell everybody this? It's because I have too much information.
I'm shocked that I got us here by accident. I'm glad that we got here.
But yeah, Wanya Morris has a potential guard, in case things are different next year, in case things are a little different now. I mean, he's got the versatility, clearly.
Yes. And it's not like we had a similar conversation, same round, same position around Lucas Niang years ago, but he ended up being out the COVID year and was dealing like the injury out of college and then another injury once he got to the pros. Like I think Lucas Niang might have ended up losing his inside-outside versatility, floor, ceiling, all of that, just to the unfortunate nature of the position and getting hurt a bunch. That would not be a bad result for Wanya Morris. I'll tell you what I'll say even more flatly. A great result for Wanya Morris and for the Chiefs would be that they have a rookie contract, left tackle, and left guard that they got at the end of the second and third round in back-to-back years, obviously flipped respectively.
Might be something.
That might be something.
Might be something.
Intrigued by that.
Yeah. So look, Mike Caliendo is the new Nick Allegretti until proven otherwise, just because of the years of experience. He's kind of waited his turn. He was even backing up Allegretti last year. So look, I mean, it's just something to experiment with, and you can do that obviously at this point in the offseason. But yeah, sprinkle him in at a little left guard, just because you never know. And he's got Kingsley has the profile to be versatile at both left and right tackle. Whereas in college and throughout his pre-draft process, Wanya Morris was very much a tackle to guard option in a pinch. You could put him at guard in a pinch. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other things going on, and I don't know if I see another question here.
I've got two for you.
Okay, here
yeah. Can't wait to launch.
Oh, let me do this. Dr. Ozzy says, how did media darling Nico Remigio look today? Chew, baby. The train ain't stopping. Okay, he mossed Kelvin Joseph today. Mossed him. Mossed that man in the back of the end zone, to the point where Kelvin Joseph was like, hey man, good rep, hell of a rep. Good rep. It's clear to me, and I'm writing this in The Athletic, that Carson Wentz's favorite receiver is Nico Remigio. Full stop.
Interesting.
Full stop. And kids, if you're the favorite receiver of a backup quarterback, you own the team.
Also, you're getting so many preseason yards. Like your preseason stat sheet is gonna be crazy.
Chew.
Wow. Okay. Here, I'll take this one from T-Bone really quick. Does Justin Ross still exist? T-Bone said, how did Justin Ross look? But like,
guys,
that one's on me. Listen, dude, when you hold Nico Remigio in one hand, you forget that you held Justin Ross in that same hand the year prior.
Game moving fast, baby. Year over year is hard.
The train keeps choo-chooing. The conductor changes.
Sometimes the train needs a new destination. Okay,
That's right.
He's not DeMarcus Robinson. But
that might have been a Nico Remigio.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. No, Justin Ross is fine. Nothing flashy, but nothing glaring. So he'll have his opportunity. It's been tough because he's kind of been in and out of OTAs. So, which again, his prerogative. It's voluntary. I think he's been working down south, if my memory is correct. Again, there's a lot of guys to keep track of. But no, Justin Ross, fine. You know what to expect. Let's just see it a little bit more consistent training camp preseason. But no issues right now with Justin Ross. It's just, I mean, Nico.
It's so over. I saw a couple of tweets about Rashid Rice.
Yes.
You saw him out there playing semi-real football. Still looks good at it.
He's still very good at it. Yes. What I can tell you is Patrick Mahomes is excellent, and it just so helps to be also talented yourself. When the defense can't hit you, can't jam you at the line, can't they did some blitzing today, and it was comical. It was like, guys, stop. I almost wanted to be like, Spags, stop.
Hey, when it's 15, don't.
Like,
you could have. This would have been the time you could have run on the field and stopped Steve Spagnuolo from doing something. It would have probably been your last time there, but it would have been a hell of a way to go.
No, Rice looks really good. Which again, I don't think is like a big headline necessarily.
But it would have been if he didn't. The inverse would have been, you know what I mean?
True.
Like,
yeah.
It was like if he would have shown up and been like, yikes, Rashid Rice looks like he's a little rusty. Like, oh.
But again, he'll have all of training camp, he'll have all the preseason. Of course, we were waiting what Roger Goodell wants, I guess. Just
great.
Hey, Raj, what we doing, baby? When are we gonna know? As I've told friends and family whenever they ask me about Rashid Rice, I'm like, well, who has? I mean, it's really just Raj. I mean, sure, the Player Association gets involved. But sure, there's like lawyers, but really it just, the commissioner can do whatever the hell he wants when it comes to this, pretty much, so whatever Raj wants is what it's going to be probably. So I just want to remind you, if you're upset with this suspension, it's Roger Goodell's decision. It's not really anybody else's.
I think at this point, I would like to believe that the NFL owes it to the Chiefs to be like, yeah, we'll get it figured out before you make your roster cuts, because we talked about, like, it changes the math of a lot of things.
Yeah, teams have kind of been like, can you do us a solid on it?
Just and spit it out.
And Raj is like, I got some other stuff, I'm just
right. And if they're insistent on waiting at the legal process, we haven't had a legal update there in 3 months.
And you might
legitimately, right?
And you might not have one for a while either. So, if he wants to do it off that, that's his prerogative. If he wants to just say 8, all right, then 8, So I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
I have one other offensive weapon player I'm just genuinely curious about, and then I will keep scanning the comments if people want to ask about defenders too. But what this is this is gonna sound like in some way sarcastic, because so much of what I say does. What does Rees-Zammit do offensively right now? Is he running with running backs like a running back? Is he getting work out of the backfield? Is he not really seeing the field on offense in practice right now?
This is a great question, because it reminds you how different OTAs are to mandatory minicamp, because mandatory minicamp is more of a reflection of the season. Now, because of Harrison Butker's absence, we did not get much special teamwork today, which I think is still his best trait, his best offering to the franchise. There was a clear, and it's just interesting too, because hey man, it's a little different when Chris Jones isn't there. It's a little different when he's there, even not in pads, right? And so again, I don't think we learned much about Rees-Zammit today. There was one rep that was clearly a mistake, because he's still learning the timing of the landmarks and where he's supposed to move in pass protection that should not disrupt the offensive tackle.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was so heartwarming, because it's like, I would do that. I would do that.
Right. That's right.
It was so heartwarming. It was like, oh, isn't that cute? He doesn't know where the landmark is, or he knows it and it's just hard to execute. Because guess what? This is a faster speed than organized activities. Hey, they're blitzing, and you got to know where
your job.
Yeah, you got to know where to go. Yeah, you got to know
where is it coming from, Lewis?
Great
we
question.
Don't know.
Great.
And you
question.
don't either. What?
It's a great question. So
what?
He bumped into one of his teammates in a clumsy way. I literally wrote down clumsy in my notebook, and I was like, that's just heartwarming, because I'm sure he won't do that in training camp. But it's like, hey, it's just another reminder. He ain't just a regular rookie. He's never done this, guys. So everything that he does is both compelling, but he's running a lot of swing patterns, a lot of short stuff that you would expect from running backs out of the backfield. Nothing advanced or intricate yet. I think that will still probably be training camp specific. Hopefully we'll see some stuff in the preseason. But yeah, I still think as of right now, based on the Rashid Rice pending suspension, it's going to be a conversation from now up until cutdown day. Like, do you have 3 running backs? Do you have 4 running backs? Because one of those players is going to be a predominant new kickoff returner, because there's 2 returners now on the kickoff, not 1. And a lot of that will depend upon him. But yeah, have you been keeping track of the F-bombs thrown at? No one's throwing F-bombs at him. Not yet, because we're not in
It's mandatory, but they know that he's not. He hasn't played the sport yet.
Yeah, he's played, it's funny that, there are 91 players on the roster. Usually it's 90. And every time I think of 91, I'm like, well, he's the one of the 91. He's so different from everybody else.
Did you know that he's, again, you tell me if this is adjustable or whatever, but Chu Godric is still their international pathway player
yes.
guy. So
Right.
if Lewis doesn't make the team, he doesn't have like the practice squad protection that Godric would have or whatever. And I kind of thought there was a decent chance that Godric might be the guy
Right.
that just gets a straight regular roster spot this year.
Correct. If he performs well, yes, right.
But so I don't know if he does. If they say, hey, we want you on the 53, you're swing tackle 5 or whatever. 4,
right.
I don't know. I don't. It didn't seem like they could change that designation. So does Lewis just have to make the roster or sneak to the practice squad the old-fashioned way? Or
now, I mean, I don't want to get too into the darkness, the darkness of NFL roster construction, but there's been an understanding that like he will be on the practice squad if it doesn't work out. Okay. Is my understanding, but I think they could also. There's some flexibility with the league rules. I don't want to get into it all right now.
That's great. That's fine. Good enough for me.
But yeah, I think Lewis Rees-Zammit looks at this as I really, really want to make the team this year. But if it takes me a full year, I'm committed to coming back next year and being.
It takes most people like a decade of playing football to be any good at it. So that's reasonable.
I'll come back twice the better player in year 2 and have a much better understanding of what is required of me. Because he's also having to transition his body, and I don't say this enough. That's my fault. He's still transitioning his body, kids, from they hit you without pads to they're gonna hit you with pads, and that's a completely different thing that he's also gonna have to manage from now, throughout training camp.
There are a couple of questions on the defense. It went away as I thought I was going to scroll through it, and it's gone now. The question was about Jaden Hicks, though. Greg ask if Hicks is looking like a better version of Dirty Dan. I am interested in the entire sort of safety group right now. Also, Brian Cook fully back.
Yes,
which is a great sign for him as well. So Jaden Hicks and the safeties today.
Not much to report on Jaden Hicks because guess what? He got less reps today. Because what, kids? This is the first important practice, and with Brian Cook coming back into the fold fully, that might be the best roster news today. Is that he'll probably be a full participant from the start of training camp, which is great. I don't think the team was super confident that was going to happen between, when you go into like the new season with like the combine and free agency and the draft. You just obviously you're monitoring guys' rehabs, and you're just never sure because that was a very significant ankle injury. But he's come back really well. He looked good today. He did have an interception. So he looks the part. But now we're into the new era, kids. Now again, I'm not really supposed to give formations. Can I give personnel grouping? Just a little personnel grouping?
You do whatever you want. I'm hiding my identity behind my handy dandy reporter's notebook here.
All right. Get in the huddle, okay? Now, because I am not on camera, none of this happened. But also, there was I believe, if my memory is correct, 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers flooded with the secondary group that is, shall we say, effing diabolical to do to a quarterback in June. To everybody else.
Is there even a coin we're not currently using that we can use to describe that personnel package?
I mean, I'm sure somebody can come up with it.
Maybe we just call, maybe
now, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not
penny personnel.
I'm not saying with the 2 defensive linemen lined up.
But you shouldn't.
But there were 2, and you don't really see that in June. But because everybody's been in the system for so long, F it, run it now.
I think Iced Pyro says silver dollar here. now in the state of Missouri,
because the coin's supposed to get smaller, right? Nickel, dime, but now we've gone the full way up,
blowing it up.
Yeah,
silver dollar. And Steve Spagnuolo is sending you to Silver Dollar City. Hello.
So,
Silver Dollar City.
If I had to say it right now, you know who the two starters are: Brian Cook, Justin Reed. Depending on personnel package, down and distance scenario, who's up, who's down. I tell you what, based on repetition, technique, footwork, recognizing personnel, formation, Chamari Connor had some pretty good reps today against Hollywood Brown. So he is your third safety. That is the new and improved Dan Sorensen. They are not asking Jaden Hicks to be Dan Sorensen right now. They're asking Jaden Hicks to not be ass on special teams. And to be ready if he has be on the field the way Chamari was towards the second half of the season. Now, don't forget Deion Bush, kids, because Deion Bush is still really good at football because as we learned today, and as my notes check, does anybody know what year this is for Deion Bush? Because he's been around the yard.
Yeah, I'm going to say like 8. Year 8, maybe?
This is year 8 for your oldest guy in the very crowded 18-man DB room. He's 30. Everybody else is younger than 30 in the Chiefs' defensive back room. And again, per my roster sheet, they got 18 of them all participating today. So don't forget about Deion Bush. He is very much your savvy veteran who knows how to get things done.
Good news, bad news. Bad news is we're over an hour already. This show is over. Good news is we'll be back on Thursday. I don't think we're going to have Seth back. I can't remember. We'll figure it out. No, we talked about sending a video for Thursday, so I think it'll be us again, and we'll do a very similar thing. We got pressers throughout the week, and Nate will be out there for practices that matter. Asterisk, parentheses, terms and conditions apply.
It's June.
It's June, but listen,
it's June.
It's definitely the most practices are going to matter for a long time. Because then they're gonna stop, and this show's gonna. Boy, I'll tell you what. If you didn't like how weird this show was through the last 6 months or so, you're gonna hate the next few. I hope that's not true. We'll find fun ways to talk about things as they come and go, but we'll definitely have plenty to talk about on Thursday, and then Seth can get back and start charting Kadarius Toney's 2023 or whatever. So that'll be pretty exciting. That being said, Nate, it's on you to get us out of here.
Now, guys, one little extra note to throw out there, okay? He is, at least without pads, okay? This is all with a caveat, because he is who they say he is. And he wears the number 12.
Yes!
That's all I'm going to say. He is who they say he is, and he wears the number 12. If you thought I was over the moon about Jordy Fortson, ooh, buddy.
Shouldn't be wearing number 12, but